Hey there guys, this is Obsidian Chill. Got another video for you today. And now that I grabbed your attention with the title of the video, I do want to share what actually happened to gadgets. I don't like to use the word Nerf. I just use that in titles because that's what the general consensus is when there's any kind of change to a power set. But there was a gadgets exploit that was recently addressed with this past hotfix. And I do want to share what that is now. Since you can't replicate it now after the fact and test, I'll play a clip right now of what the actual exploit was. So as you saw, it's just basically you were able to use Bunker Buster with only using not actually the full 100% supercharge. So obviously that was quite impactful because Bunker Buster still was successful in his damage each time. It's just that it didn't actually use the full supercharge amount. So that being kind of going around, and that was basically being addressed. And at the same time, I mean, Gadgets has been an outlier for a while in terms of some of its abilities. It did need to be addressed. Now, I would not have gone about this way because the problem is really there's a bunch of issues with gadgets. A lot of it's, I know a lot of people consider it like the most fun power set and it's clip heavy, and while that is true, there are some really messy things. Like a lot of it has to do with stealth. So when you go into stealth, and some of it only works on PC or works better on PC. Sometimes it only works better on PS5. PS4 certainly can't do it. It's like the ability to clip a lot of abilities together. So you find it on precision more often, but you're clipping like 3 or 4 abilities in stealth easily. Sometimes you're doing clipping abilities that aren't even supposed to be clipped within stealth. So it's just the whole kind of this. A lot of it is just how stealth interacts with the actual servers of DC. So that's why depending on your ping or depending on your basically your delay, you're more likely to get that off with stealth. Sometimes you're not. You saw it in my gadgets video as well when I showed basically having a P-Dart clipping out before stealth. So sometimes P-Dart would hit out of stealth, sometimes it wouldn't. But at the same time, if you can get it to hit in stealth, being knocked out of it, I mean, that's a lot of damage. If you don't get it, you're missing a lot of that AoE damage. So it's just stealth has been an issue with gadgets for a while. Suppressor turret has been an issue for gadgets for a while, and then we actually had the supercharge glitch that actually had to be addressed. So while that was fixed, they took it upon their time, developers, to also adjust suppressor turret. So if you missed that in the hotfix notes, I'll put it up on the screen here. So abilities with a cast time now consume power / supercharge when the ability is used, as the cast time begins rather than after. So what that means is that if you used to jump cancel suppressor turret, it didn't actually cost any power because you weren't actually using the full summon. Same thing. It's the same concept with like implosion mine, but the same thing with implosion mine or thermite mine or like cuffum, stuff like that. They're only 1 higher power cost, so it wasn't really noticeable, even if you didn't actually lose the power. But now, since suppressor turret is that 300 power cost, it uses 300 power regardless. So if you're precision or might, it doesn't matter. You're using that power cost anyway. So the issue is not really a nerf. It's just that this is more like a public service announcement to controllers, because any kind of gadgets DPS, precision or might, will be using a lot more power, like a lot more power than they're used to. So even like in a typical gadgets rotation, I'm just in a duel so that my power doesn't go down. You can see there after 1 rotation, I'm already out of power. And this is full like 360 gear stats, stuff like that. So I'm out of power after 1 rotation of that new gadget. So in an actual raid, if you don't have like a proper controller or proper power over time, like the reason why I'm in a duels is that I'm not getting the power return from the sparring targets. But I mean, as you saw there, that's like just a basic gadgets rotation. And then I'm even running out of power just to even clip Cyclone Push again. So that's trying to sustain that power yourself. I mean, yeah, there's you're gonna have to pretty much completely rely on allies like Cyborg. You'll have to run his passive regardless. But then you're putting a huge strain on controllers because there's going to be gadgets players that don't think anything changed, so they're going to be just doing business as usual and not realize that suppressor turrets costing them power. They're just going to think that controllers suck. So that's I'm sure that's kind of because this has been out for what, like a week or so, week and a half. It came out with the Valentine's release. I can't remember the exact day. But yeah, it's been happening for like a week. So, if you're in raids and you're blaming the controllers or the controllers can't power you or anything like that as a gadget, that's why. You're running into an issue where, a suppressor turret is using a full 300 power cost for your actual rotation. And it's the same for prec. Like if I swap this, do I have brawling on? Yeah. So if I swap this around to kind of show like a prec rotation, so it's going to be that. We're going to have... this may not be like a full proper prec rotation, but you'll still be able to see it. And then we do suppressor turret. And stealth is just return to normal because you'd have supercharges. And then you have dervish instead of vortex. So there's essentially like a brawling gadgets rotation. So same thing. You set battle spell, you return to normal after you hit your supercharge. I messed that up. Let's put Robot Psychic on stealth. Right. It's the same thing. So I'm not going to hit a supercharge because there's no point in that. So you're just doing, battle display and return normal. And you can see my power already as, I'm almost completely at power even as prec. And if I go back and do that rotation, I'm barely even maintaining like a prec rotation, which is supposed to be power conservative. So even as gadgets prec, I'm running into issues where I'm not going to be able to sustain this rotation. I might get like one more and then bam, now I'm already out of power. And it's going to be similar for the one-handed rotation as well. Not one-handed rotation, but single target rotation, because you can be using suppressor turret to clip like taser pull. So no matter what power set or no matter what side you are in gadgets, either might single target, might AoE, precision single target, precision AoE, you're going to run into the same issues because you're always using suppressor turret to maximize your rotation. Especially on might, because either like a vortex cannon or cyclone push, you got those longer animations, tornado pull, whatever. Even taser pulls as prec precision. So that is the change that I wouldn't have done. I understand the change. I understand where the developers are coming from. I think that's more of like a band-aid fix because it doesn't really address gadgets issues. We need to address the issues with stealth. We need the precision. There's not really precision issues with the gadgets. It's the same thing just with stealth. So once you fix stealth, once you fix a weapons pass in terms of having more viable weapons besides just brawling and besides doing a flurry shot, that's going to fix the precision side of things. Suppressor turret. The much easier way is just to take a suppressor turret in all. So it's just relieving suppressor turret in with that 300 power cost, because you get the reason is like in an actual rotation you're clipping like P-Dart into stealth, so stealth's 300 power cost, P-Dart's a 300 power cost, suppressor turret's a 300 power cost, whereas a cyclone push, I think that's a 200 power cost. Implosion mine, that's the only 100 power cost one, and in stealth you're using EMP, so EMP is a 300 power cost. So you have like probably the most power intensive rotation this game's ever seen, much more higher than might for mental might. Mental might, the only power intensive is just that one clip when you go into when you're doing the psychic prison into invisibility. That's like a 1600 car. That's like a 900 power cost move in in a fraction of a second. But now with gadgets, it's like a sustained 300 power cost. So 23,000 power. I only have 158,000 power, and every single move I do is 23k. There's no way a controller can keep up with that. So the change they made to gadgets just makes it more toxic because players are going to be able to do the same rotation they could before. So nothing changes with the rotation. You can still clip suppressor turret just as easily as before. Just now it's putting so much more strain on the controllers. Then you're going to have DPS blaming the controllers. Then you're going to have DPS complaining they're doing less damage because of the rotation. They're not going to be going to be too stubborn to change up their rotation to account for the power loss. So that's not the way I would have gone about it. I always thought Suppressor Turret, just make it the hard summon. So when you just take Suppressor Turret out completely, Suppressor Turret is actually even not that bad as a DPS aspect in terms of a pet if you have the right power and actions up. But if Suppressor Turret, if you couldn't jump clip it, and you had to, so if you had kind of like Implosion Mine. So if I want to clip Suppressor Turret and it wouldn't, sorry, I hit Dervish. If I want to clip Suppressor Turret and you forced summon it, so you couldn't jump clip the summon, then that fixes it. Then it's like, okay, you can't use Suppressor Turret anymore, which takes away a huge clipping ability, which, I mean, yeah, it reduces the whole fun aspect of gadgets, but also makes it much more balanced in terms of the other power sets, because there's no other power set that has ability like Suppressor Turret. And even then, it's not a huge deal, because especially if you're Prec, because you can still jump clip with Thermite Mine and Implosion Mine. So you're not really hurting like saying like Brawling Clips or something like that. It's more like the Might side. But instead of increasing the power cost or not, and I wouldn't say increasing the power cost, but flipping the power cost, how that works, you run into an issue where all you have to do is just make it a hard summon. Then you can't use Suppressor Turret to clip, boom, done. That's a better Band-Aid fix than what they've done. And the other issue is that it's had an unintended side effect. So if I go to, because you saw before in that note, it said it affected Supercharge as well. So if I go to munitions, I'm not this is one of those side effects where like obviously the developers had no idea that's how it worked, or because there's no way they would intend that. So the problem is big gun, if I was going to clip off and use big gun, like say you got interrupt on big gun, whatever, you still kept the supercharge, you didn't lose it. But now if I go to use big gun and like say I got interrupted or have to cancel it, you just saw I lost all my supercharge. So because of this change to gadgets, which was focused at gadgets, I'm not sure what supercharges they're talking about in terms of a cast bar. There's I think maybe a few. I mean, mounted turret works the same thing, but mounted turret, if you get interrupted mounted turret, you lose the supercharge anyway because you're already in the mounted turret. You don't lose it beforehand. But yeah, there's not too many supercharges in this game that have cast bar animations. But that's just the ridiculous part. So normally you just do big gun, you'd hold it, and it would fire. But if you got interrupted, it's okay. Like it's reset or whatever. But now if you get interrupted, if like the wind blows on you, if like a boss doesn't attack, you just lost 100% of your supercharge with 0 damage. So that's the unacceptable change. I don't know why supercharge was added to that change. I'm not sure where that approach was or what that was intended to change. But it's just one of those things where it's a Band-Aid fix to try to adjust gadgets, which does actually need some adjustment. But now it's impacted, something entirely that should not be impacted. Because, I mean, it's not like Big Gun is some super OP supercharge. It used to be in the past, but now it's changed. There's absolutely no reason why a munitions player should be worrying about losing all their supercharge. So the same thing, I don't think mounted turret. I can't jump clip mounted turret. Do I have the breakout trinket on? That might work. Let's try this. Mounted turret is like really susceptible to CC, but I'm not sure if I can actually use the breakout trinket to force out of it, but we'll see if this works. Of course, anyway, supercharge. But it'd be the same concept with mounted turret. So if I'm in mounted turret, no, I can't. Oh, it's the same concept. I can jump out, cancel on a mounted turret. So same concept. I'm losing my supercharge. So if I reset it, if I jump cancel out of it by whatever reason, see, even then, I didn't even use mounted turret. I just jump canceled out of it, which, I mean, it still is a mistake. I mean, you don't want to do that as a player, but it's more so, you're not going to jump cancel out a mounted turret in a raid. You'll get knocked out of it, like, CC-wise. But there's situations where, say if ads die or something like that, big gun, you could always jump cancel and cancel the big gun. I don't want to use it. You'd still be locked into a minute. So you wouldn't lose your supercharge in the past, but you'd still be susceptible to the 60-second cooldown, and you wouldn't be able to use your big gun again. But there's no reason why you should be losing your entire supercharge bar, just out of either a mistake as a player or like some kind of game mechanic knocking you out of it. So that's where this lies. More of a change to gadgets, but it's just more like an FYI to munitions players and a public service mount to controllers, because It's probably going to get a lot more toxic for gadgets, for controllers out there trying to power gadgets players, because they're going to be doing the same rotations but using an extra 23,000 power every like couple seconds. So any kind of questions and concerns, put in the comments section. We can kind of carry on the conversation there, and we'll see you in the next video, guys.